I'm Sylvia.
Standing in the middle of the now silent ballroom, I watch as my father, Dr. Henry Thompson, is escorted out by security, his face ashen and his once proud figure now hunched. The room is filled with whispers, and the air is thick with tension. Just moments ago, this was a night of celebration for him, an event to honor his receipt of the Distinguished Cardiologist Award. But now, it's turned into a nightmare. 2 weeks ago, that engraved invitation sat on my kitchen counter. It read, Dr. Henry Thompson cordially invites you to celebrate his receipt of the Distinguished Cardiologist Award. Gala reception at the Riverside Medical Center Grand Ballroom. My mother, always the dutiful wife, called me during her weekly check-in. You're coming, aren't you? Your father has worked his whole life for this recognition. It would mean the world to him. I'm a 32-year-old elementary school art teacher. 8 weeks ago, I had open heart surgery. The scar on my chest was still red and raised. I could barely lift a heavy book, and climbing the stairs left me out of breath. But my father needed me there, so I agreed. My mother also warned me not to talk too much about the surgery. People are here to celebrate your father's achievements, not hear about medical stuff, she said. The truth is, for 6 months before the surgery, I'd been experiencing chest pain, shortness of breath, and fainting spells. I told my father, a well-respected cardiologist, about these symptoms. But he dismissed them as anxiety. I'm a cardiologist, Sylvia. I know the difference between a cardiac event and a panic attack. You're young, your heart is fine, he'd said. In reality, the bicuspid aortic valve I was born with had deteriorated to critical stenosis. By the time I collapsed at school and was rushed to the ER, my ejection fraction was only 30%. Another month, and I would have been in heart failure. But my father downplayed it to his colleagues, calling it a minor valve issue, a routine fix. On the night of the ceremony, I dressed in a long black dress that hid how much weight I'd lost. The fatigue was overwhelming. My surgeon, Dr. Lily Chun, had warned me that cardiac surgery recovery takes months, but my father just told me to stop being so dramatic. The ballroom was filled with the medical elite of the city. My father stood at the center, looking resplendent in his tuxedo, surrounded by admirers. He'd built the cardiology department from scratch, saved countless lives, and published important research. He deserved recognition, but he couldn't see that I needed saving too. My brother, Ryan, a resident in neurosurgery following the family tradition, approached me with a drink in his hand. You made it. How are you feeling? He asked. Tired, but okay, I replied. He then told me that Dad was going to make some remarks and that I should look enthusiastic because Dad was stressed about the event. I thought about how I'd had my chest cracked open and my heart stopped, yet Dad was worried about his awards ceremony. After the formal presentation, the reception began. I found a chair near the wall to conserve my energy. A woman in her 60s, Dr. Margaret Reed, approached me.
I'm Dr.
Margaret Reed. I worked with your father years ago, before moving to New York.
How are you?
Your father mentioned you'd had some health issues recently, she said. I'm recovering from surgery, I answered carefully. Before I could say more, my father appeared, holding a champagne flute and with a triumphant look on his face. Margaret, you made it. Have you met my daughter, Sylvia? She had a little heart procedure recently, but she's bounced back beautifully, he said. Those words felt like a punch in the gut.
Dr.
Reed's interest was piqued. What kind of procedure? She asked. My father quickly replied, a valve thing. Young people are so resilient. She was up and about in no time. But I was far from being up and about. I was on medical leave for another month and could barely make it through a day at school. Dr. Reed continued to question me. Which valve? Aortic, I said softly. Replacement or repair? Replacement. A mechanical valve, I answered. Her expression changed. How old are you, Sylvia? 32, I said. And your father called this routine? She asked, her voice calm, but with an underlying edge. My father insisted it was routine. Simple valve replacement. These procedures are done every day on people your age.
Dr.
Reed turned to him. Henry, you're a cardiologist. Aortic valve replacement in someone under 35 indicates severe congenital abnormality or endocarditis, neither of which is routine. My father tried to downplay it, saying it was a bicuspid valve situation that I could handle. But Dr. Reed wasn't convinced. Critical stenosis severe enough to require replacement at your age is life-threatening, she said. Other physicians in the area had stopped their conversations and were listening.
Dr.
Vincent Lee, the director of medicine at the Riverside Medical Center, stepped forward.
Dr.
Thompson, you told your daughter, who was experiencing cardiac symptoms, that she didn't need evaluation because you didn't believe she had a cardiac condition. My father's face turned pale.
Dr.
Lee pulled out his phone and started looking at my medical records. Your daughter was admitted through the emergency department 8 weeks ago in acute heart failure. Her aortic valve had critical stenosis with a mean gradient of 70 millimeters of mercury. Her ejection fraction was 30%. She required emergency surgery. You're listed as her emergency contact and primary care physician. The notes show she'd reported worsening symptoms for 6 months and was repeatedly told they were not cardiac in nature. My father said he didn't realize it was that serious. But Dr. Lee wasn't having it. You're a cardiologist. A young patient presents with chest pain, syncope, and progressive dyspnea, and you don't order an echo, an EKG. You diagnose anxiety without a single cardiac workup.
Dr.
Reed also chimed in, saying that the surgical notes showed my valve was severely calcified, which was a result of progressive deterioration over months. During those months, I'd been telling my father something was wrong, but he dismissed me as being dramatic and anxious.
Dr.
Lee continued, tonight you received an award for exceptional patient care, yet you failed to provide basic cardiac evaluation to your own daughter when she presented with textbook symptoms of valvular disease. He then asked me if my father had discouraged me from seeing other physicians. I whispered, yes. He said if I went to the ER or saw another cardiologist, I'd be wasting everyone's time and embarrassing him.
Dr.
Lee turned to my father. This isn't just poor judgment. This is medical negligence that nearly killed your daughter. And tonight, at an event honoring your clinical excellence, you characterized her open heart surgery as a little operation and told her to stop being dramatic. My father pleaded, Vincent, please. Not here. Not tonight. But Dr. Lee replied, especially here. Especially tonight. We're honoring physicians who exemplify the best of medicine. But excellence means nothing if you can't recognize when someone in your own home is dying.
Dr.
Reed, who serves on the state medical board, said, this is exactly the kind of case we review. Physicians who allow their personal biases to override clinical judgment. Henry, you didn't just miss a diagnosis. You actively prevented your daughter from getting appropriate care, using your authority to silence her legitimate medical concerns. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Board members gathered in groups, and hospital administrators looked grave.
Dr.
Lee gestured for security to escort my father to his office for a conversation about his clinical privileges. My mother rushed over, looking stricken. Vincent, surely this can wait until tomorrow. But Dr. Lee said my father's award would be suspended pending an ethics review. He also apologized to me on behalf of the institution and said they'd conduct a full investigation. My brother Ryan appeared at my side, looking conflicted. Sylvia, did you have to do this tonight? Couldn't you have just kept quiet?
Dr.
Reed snapped. She nearly died because she kept quiet. Your father told her to stop being dramatic about her life-threatening cardiac condition. What exactly should she have done differently? Ryan had no answer and left with my crying mother.
Dr.
Reed sat beside me. How are you really doing? Post-valve replacement recovery is brutal. It's hard, I admitted. Everything exhausts me. But Dad keeps saying I should be better by now. She squeezed my hand. You did the right thing telling the truth.
Dr.
Lee returned and gave me his card. I'll need a full statement from you about your father's treatment and advice. And I'd like you to see one of our patient advocates. You may have grounds for a formal complaint. I said I didn't want to destroy his career, but he gently said, He endangered your life through negligence. That's not your fault. That's his. The ethics investigation took 3 weeks. They reviewed my complete medical history, interviewed my emergency room physicians, and spoke with Dr. Chen. They found that my father had dismissed clear cardiac symptoms for 6 months, actively discouraged me from seeking care, and used his medical authority to convince me I was overreacting. They also found 3 other cases where he dismissed female patients' cardiac symptoms as anxiety or stress, leading to delayed diagnosis. One woman had suffered a heart attack that could have been prevented. My father was given a choice: voluntary resignation or termination for cause with license review. He chose resignation. His Distinguished Cardiologist Award was rescinded. The state medical board opened an investigation that would result in mandatory retraining and supervised practice if he ever returned to medicine. He blamed me completely, sending me an email calling me vindictive and cruel, saying I destroyed his life's work over one mistake. My mother supported him, telling family members I'd overreacted and ruined the family. But Ryan eventually called to apologize. I didn't understand how serious it was. I should have listened, he said.
Dr.
Chun became my advocate. She connected me with a support group for young cardiac patients and helped me through my recovery without my family's support. 3 months after the surgery, I returned to teaching. My students made me welcome. Back cards decorated with hearts. One said, "We're glad your heart is fixed, Miss Sylvia." I cried when reading it. My mechanical valve clicks audibly in quiet rooms, a constant reminder that I'm alive because I finally stopped listening to the person who told me I was being dramatic. The scar on my chest is a reminder that real surgeries are not little operations. I keep the program from my father's awards ceremony, with his name embossed in gold and his achievements listed. It reminds me that professional excellence means nothing if you can't extend basic medical care to the people who need you most. The medical board's report is public record, as is my father's resignation. And the truth is, his own daughter nearly died of heart failure while he told her she was being dramatic about a little surgery. He may never forgive me for speaking up at his moment of triumph, but every day my mechanical valve clicks is a day I chose survival over his pride. And that choice, Dr. Chen assures me, is the only one that keeps a heart beating.